Greetings and welcome everybody to the Tuesday Jane Mackenzie Quantum Medical Center's live webinar where we talk about live case studies, in particular related to quantum medicine, the devices that the Professor D Dubounet has put together, the SKIO, the Eductor, the QUEXED, and also having a look at the 365 Healthy by Choice range of products, nutrients that will help the body regenerate itself. And we all know the body heals itself. So we want to bring the nutrients in so that the body can do that, as well as bring in the amplified quantum field from the devices and our own healing ability. So today we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic, and that would be the gut-brain connection and digestion. And we're going to cover an area that's got an acronym FOSSIL-LAP that Professor D Dubounet has put together. And I'm going to be going through again, from the immune course, the notes, and sharing with you a lot of information, also my practical experiences. And I mean, I've just had a client now that's got gastric reflux, losing weight, poor circulation, low libido, blood sugar tablets, on cholesterol tablets, revealed the whole childhood pattern to me, the controlling aspect of the parents, and actually how we pieced it together today on an emotional level, where we actually, he actually freed himself from the ancestral lineage, which is always very, very important, because we carry the DNA with us, we carry the genetics, we carry the epigenetics. And until we actually clear that, make sense of it, and understand it, we carry it with us, generation after generation. So what we really want to do always is clear that, so that we can live a free and fulfilled life. And then we find that most of the physical ailments, diseases, illnesses, etc., do fall away. So I'm looking forward to a massive response from this man. I'm looking forward to some weight on. I'm looking forward to lots of circulation, good digestion, and in particular the ability to be centered. So everything comes back to our ability to be centered, to be in a frame of mind where we're non-judgmental, non-reactive, and then we build in the tools to cope with that. And we've done numerous video recordings on the Jane Mackenzie YouTube channel on breathing and centering and grounding and nutrients. So things like sugars and too much coffee and too much alcohol and too much nicotine, they're going to push us off center. We're going to be sitting beside ourselves, and nobody wants that if you want to really think clearly and live productively. So that's the main aim. And then live our life how we ought to be living it, and be fulfilled and free, contented, grateful, and with patience, aspiring to where we need to be. And having removed the artificial wants that we think we need, and these desires, which really do take us out of our central point and put us in a place we shouldn't be. When we're in our central point, we're in the gut brain. So not the observer brain, through the heart into the gut, which Chinese calls the second brain. I actually call it the first brain, because this brain is a vesicle to channel information up and down. It's just to carry that. It's not really, this is the one where the emotions are. This is the one doing the damage, the mental factors, the rationalization, telling us about emotions. I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm stressed. Let's not run today, because let's have a break today. That's this brain. So this one's got to get out of the picture. We've got to work down here with sense and move through. And it just so happens that this gut brain is in the gut. So it's very appropriate for today. If any of you have any questions, I would like you to please pop them on the chat, and we can discuss more and more things. Always an honor and a privilege to have you all here. It's just lovely to see people who really want to learn so much. And to take the information out there. It mustn't stop with you, because we want to be able to create whirlpools everywhere of maximum health, and we've got everything available to us. We've got all the case studies we need. We've got the 365 Healthy by Choice toolkit full of natural, nature-made nutrients that reach the body in the quantum spin. The body's ability to heal kicks in, and we sit back and watch it all transform, all in a metamorphosis space. So all very exciting and all very easy to do. And as you know, I'm just willing to share with anybody who wants to take it up. So regarding the digestion, let's look at that, and then we're going to see the effect that the gut has on the brain, and talk about some things like leaky gut and diverticulosis, Crohn's, those kind of diseases, and the various organisms that come and reside in a situation that's not ideal. In fact, they actually come to help decompose fermented food. So if you throw food into a dustbin, there's not a worm in sight. You put the lid on, and the next day you go there, and there's all these white worms and everything happening. Where did they come from? They actually came to decompose. Same thing in our body. So the tube from our mouth to our butt is outside of us, and it needs to be squeaky clean, completely cleaned. No plaque in the way, no mucus, no fermentation, no old debris, no old feces. And we need to do whatever we can to maximize this gastrointestinal tract and bring in the essential microbes. And we're going to be talking a lot about microbiome reset, which is actually on special right now. It's 20% off for this week. So avail yourself to that. Stock up, because we all know that these things the microbiome reset gets used very quickly. We take it 2-3 times a day. It's always with me. It's always at my desk. And most of the times I'm swigging out of the bottle, actually, and bringing in my friends. So not in the fridge, they will die, because this is a live probiotic with enzymes. So we want to be looking at, and I've done many YouTubes on this. Go and look on kimchi, kefir, idli, miso, sauerkraut, kombucha, and all of that. And on that note of kombucha, please be careful of shop kombucha, because it's got a lot of alcohol and a lot of sugar. It's not ripe yet. It's sort of poured because of production need, as opposed to waiting for the pH to be below 4, below 3.7. In fact, it needs to taste like enhanced vinegar kombucha. And I mastered this because I knew it's such a good food, but I couldn't understand why I felt so disorientated drinking it. And it's because it's poured before it's ripe. So even the probiotic, it's fermented and it's only decanted and bottled once the pH is below 3.7. Below 3.7, no pathogens live. So vinegar is below, it's 4. So dishwashing liquid is below 4. So you must know it's acidic and very necessary for the gut for digestion, and then alkaline on the rest of the body. But I'm just saying, and I have to digress slightly, kombucha must be acidic too before it's poured, but well below 4. And that's the secret. So those of you who have your own little scobies, get busy with them. Those of you who have your own thank you, everyone. Those are you that have your own little kefir grains. Get busy with it, because the bigger the cross-section of microbes, the better. And you'll see from the previous recordings we've done as well, the gut is critical because the microbes produce the serotonin, the GABA, the PEA for the brain. Most of it is produced in the gut. If you don't have them, well, then can be depression. It's very easy. And any antibiotic will wipe them out. And then, of course, you're not feeling 100%. The microbes also produce our stores of vitamin B and K. And very necessary, because with parasites around and dissolving the collagen is using vitamin K to produce collagen in the body. And you're going to need parasite control, but you're going to need the vitamin K also to help the collagen rebuild, and that comes from the microbes. They scavenge heavy metals as well. They keep the gut in a microbial health. And this is the most of the immunity is also just in the gut, just below the belly button. So very important, these products. And people say to me, how long do I have to do this? And I'm saying, well, I don't know, how long do you need to breathe for? Because it's as essential. If you're not feeling well, 9 times out of 10, you don't have a good microflora in the gut. So we've got the microbiome reset, and we're very, very lucky. Let's have a look at Professor D Dubounet fossil lab model, where if you're making notes, it's got to do with food and the good foods, and the choice of foods is most important. And we do need a very high whole food plant-based cross-section of foods, because the plants themselves, the raw food, the plants will activate the intestinal wall to create absorption. So this chap that I referred to earlier, poor digestion, poor absorption, poor peristaltic motion, lots of fermentation, and very low probiotics. So I know for sure that there's, Daisy wakes up when he feels depressed because he just doesn't have the serotonin. So the foods are very important. The foods that are important for the microbes to live on are called prebiotics. It's the inulin that you find in the indigestible cellulose, like in celery, artichokes. You'll find it in raw dairy. You'll find it in sort of brown rice grains and things. And the cellulose vegetables. So very important. That's where you get the prebiotic on which the microbes will then multiply, because we have a moving system, not like a plant in the soil where it's stationary. So we have to constantly bring the supply in, and our ancestors knew this, and they did it. You would see the kefir, the yogurt, the cottage cheese on the table. You would see the sauerkraut, the kimchi, the idli, the miso, for example, and they just knew. And if you follow the blue zone for extreme longevity, they talk about the microbes. Just telling you, this one has got 80, but actually close to 120 live strains and substrains. So this will be able to help you imprint your own microbial, it's like your thumbprint. You need to have all of them there so that they can shapeshift a little bit to get you into homeostasis with your own microbiome fingerprint, if you like, your own microbiome print. So this is a huge amount, and it's all with a certificate of analysis and all ready for us. So the food choice is most important, and then of course the way the food is prepared, because if you fry your food, you're just going to have huge problems in the gut. Lots of reflux is created by fried food, wheat, all the inflammatory foods. The gut's almost, your body's telling you, please don't put this in. So 90% of the time we change the diet and the reflux goes. You throw the Nexum out the window. You don't need it anymore. And you sleep peacefully, you live peacefully. It's very sore to have a heartburn. So these are the things we need to do. Organic if you can, of course, because it's got less toxins, less insecticides. If you haven't got that, then you need to get yourself a set of water purifying drops, the Cell Vitality OxyMinerals, all on the 365 Healthy by Choice website, and wash your veggies and your fruit, especially the dirty dozen, the peaches and the celeries and the spinaches that don't have a hard outer skin, because they have the most accumulation of insecticides and pesticides. And a lot of people with cancer are riddled with DDT and pesticides. So always good to wash your veggies. We have the solution for you there as well. So also important to do smoothies as opposed to juices, because the juicing is a broken up food and the cell membrane is broken. And if we want to be restoring organs in the body, we need the cell membrane. And that remains with a smoothie. But if you put it through the juicer, it destroys it completely. So we really aren't preferring that. And, in the notes that says it is true, we are what we eat, but it's even more true, we are what we assimilate, what we're able to then absorb. And, we do need to consider stress, because stress has a massive impact on our digestion, because digestion is a parasympathetic function, and stress alerts the sympathetic nervous system. So we always have this discrepancy between sympathetic and parasympathetic. And if we're running from the line all day, it's very difficult to digest, and you shouldn't eat, in fact, if you're stressed, because that food is going to lie there and ferment and rot and attract worms, and alcohol and fermentation and things. So always important to moderate that stress. And how do we moderate that stress? I'm going to put it out there. You can put it on the chat. You tell me how we moderate stress and maintain our centeredness. You can put it on the chat there. All right, so very important then, our choice of food. I also like the blood group foods because it is anti-inflammatory, and it's been proven again and again under microscopes. It keeps the red blood cells apart, a zeta potential, and then there's no clotting, and then we can carry food and oxygen through to the cells, and therefore anti-inflammatory on the body. So I do like that as a rule of thumb. So then moving on to O from the fossil lap, we're talking about oral, the second phase, and this is really where we chew, and the notes are talking about to chew 23 times to create juice from the food. So we have our best juicer in our mouth, our teeth, and then we also have to liberate the ptyalin, which is the beginning of the carbohydrate digestion. So we're all eating in a rush, and this doesn't happen, and then of course right from the start, we're not digesting properly. In fact, digestion starts with the eyes and the touching of the food, the sensing, and then the body's computer knows which enzymes to secrete, how much hydrochloric acid to secrete. And if we're sitting quietly within, the digestion process is good, and then to wait for 30 minutes after you've eaten your food for proper assimilation to happen. And then we talk about the first S in the fossil lap, the stomach itself. So this is the first place where we start, as I said, secreting hydrochloric acid, which is breaking up and preparing the food for the next step. So the food remains in the stomach for about 1 to 3 hours, depending on vegetable or protein. Protein would be longer. And it's not a good idea to consume liquid half an hour before and 2 hours after your meal, simply because the food's going to float and you're going to digest the effect of the hydrochloric acid and the enzymes. And then huge clumps of food move through, fermentation all over again, worms coming again. And we don't want that. And we also don't want to be consuming antacids. So bicarbonate of soda, antacids, because if you do that, you're just crashing the acidity of the stomach completely, and you're not going to digest your food. So that's really not useful. I prefer Zeolite, which is on the 365 Healthy by Choice website as well, because it will alkalinize the body by absorbing the acidity, and that's going to help with acidity. And also, if you've hydrated in the morning and put lemon juice in your water, you will also alkalinize. And a lot of very high whole food, plant-based, will alkalinize you. So the acidity foods are meat and potatoes, some of the nuts, but those are the ones, and Cokes and all the sugary things, those are all, and carbohydrates, those are all acidic. So you can change the nature of the plate on your food. You can change the nature of the plate of food, and you are responsible, no one else. And you make small changes, and the body's so forgiving, and it really does heal. Okay, so then we say, and then after that, the food passes into the small intestine, and it's not going to be completely assimilated if you've taken liquids or sodium or bicarbonate of soda, or even coffee, because coffee confuses the pancreas, because there's a time when sodium bicarb is secreted by the pancreas and it's not in the stomach. So if you're consuming coffee at the same time as you're eating, you're confusing the pancreas and you're not going to get proper digestion or assimilation. The end goal is food into the cell, oxygen into the cell, food into the cell. We've got to do whatever we can to maximize that. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. So that's very important. And all undigested fats, proteins will create a problem in the small intestine, and then eventually in the blood. And we must rest for 30 to 45 minutes after eating. Right, now the second S, the small intestine. So this is where we absorb the nutrients and with the help of complex working enzymes. And if the stomach's not working well, we'll have too large undigestible proteins and fats that are going to create problems. And we see it in the blood. I had a man yesterday, lots of cancer, and just a blood riddled with protein fibers, riddled with pools of fat. And inside those fat were parasites, in the oil globules, parasites. Okay, and then that oil goes around all the major organs, goes inside the cells, and lies there. It's all neutral fats, cholesterol, triglycerides, unuseful, can't be used, and the protein in the blood, in the liver, in the kidneys. So it's huge problems. All right, and then the I is standing for the ileo-ceacal valve, which is the valve between the small intestine and the large intestine, where the appendix sits. And in the large intestine, we're going to absorb minerals. So those people who are low in minerals, it's usually one of the reasons is that we're not getting absorption. And they must pay attention to the probiotics. So in comes the microbiome reset again, the sauerkraut, the kimchi, kefir, miso, idli. And the larger the proteins and the fats, you're not going to get proper digestion, and then basically you get a lymphatic problem because all the waste accumulates. Nobody wants that because that's going to cause even bigger problems, even bigger diseases. So the lymph glands are mainly under here, and if you push hard, you'll find it's a bit sore. Toxicity, the lymph glands are under the armpits and in the groin. So that, it's going to lead to blockages of the breast cancer, for example. It's very dangerous. It's very sore when the lymph nodes get sore. Cancer around here too. So then we come into the L on fossil lap, the liver. And the liver releases bile through the bile duct, and it's the seat of detoxification. So we need to have the liver clean, and we use schizandra berry as opposed to milk thistle because it not only detoxifies, but it takes the toxin out as well. It's a wonderful adaptogen. It also wards off radiation. But for the point of this, it's much stronger and more powerful. So in our liver cleanse and restore, we've got the schizandra berry also available on its own too. And that's our number one, along with other herbs, along with our oxygen, our DMSO, along with the fat go if there's a fatty liver. And again, we've got to make sure that those foods are ground up properly, turned around into chyme properly in the stomach, enters the small intestine properly so that the liver can continue with the digestive process. And, it doesn't end up in the liver. So then fossil lap. After L, we're talking about A, which is the autonomic nervous system, which I told you in the beginning is made up of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is releasing the acetylcholine, the key to every disease. So the parasympathetic nervous system will only do that when it's relaxed. So important to relax, be centered, and breathe. And that's why I like the alternative nostril breathing, because you become mindless and you become completely restful, and we balance the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So often you will see on the quantum readings, the acetylcholine is not balanced at all. And that's what we want that released. The cortisol, the adrenaline will be too high. Also, the corticotrophin levels must also be balanced for relaxation of the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is going to create a lot of problem if there's too little relaxation in the body. And being on the quantum device with the clasp on it, you're being fed Sherman's resonance, which is electrons, which is calming. Everybody feels calm. And the advantages of doing, exercise, yoga, walking, release of endorphins, and that brings in lots of calmness. So we need to be centered, mindless, working with the gut brain, non-reactive, non-judgmental awareness, and, focusing forward where we need to be going. And the rest doesn't matter. basically. And then lap with the pancreas finally, which will release the enzymes and, the insulin. So this particular man, very high insulin as well and high blood sugar, but also the high insulin, you get insulin resistance where the insulin blocks the cell and says no to oxygen and food. And then the metabolic syndrome just sets in and, lots of weight can get added on and becomes a very, very big downward spiral. Because then the hormones aren't released either, and then there's thyroid and estrogen and progesterone problems and adrenal problems and pancreatic enzyme problems, etc., etc. So, very, very, very important to relax. And, it says here that there are 253 medical symptoms that will confirm you're sick in the pancreas. So we've got to really look after this pancreas. And then I mentioned about the coffee as well, not to consume the coffee when you're eating. And I just want to sort of end off this part of it by enforcing the importance of plant fiber. And that's why the juicing is not a good idea either. So the fiber is what brushes the border of the intestine and encourages absorption of minerals, vitamins, and also controls the release of sugar